And so let's bring him in. Hello, Lieutenant Mark Taylor.
Thank you for having me. It's always an honor to be here.
Thank you. I guess today is Markaganza.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
what in the world? This girl, I knew she was crazy, but this is a whole nother level.
A whole other level for the data Ganza. You probably want to do anything that's EDC carry for the men. Anything that's EDC is pretty popular.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
A lot. And so let's get started. I had to start out with something good. That way everybody's all good and happy and excited.
That
Oh my
always helps.
gosh. Yes, it does. All right. Well, let's go on ahead. I want to start with the John Rich video. Okay. So we have about a 7-minute clip of a John Rich video where he's explaining some interactions with President Trump. It actually sounds like it's about a year old. So he may not have been the president at the time. Who knows? Let's see. So, but I do want, I want to play this in its entirety and then we're going to talk about it. I wrote down when I saw this the first time, some things came to me. And so I wrote that down and I'm going to bring those up to you, Mark, after the 7-minute clip. So let's take a look.
We're sitting there and everybody's eating their food and President Trump is not president at this time, and he's talking to the senators. He's talking about really important stuff, and I'm just minding my own business going, I don't know how I got in this room. Well, okay. I'm sitting elbow to elbow with him. It's about an hour into dinner. I hadn't said a word, just been listening. And Trump gets through eating, and you've seen him do this move right here. Yeah. Wherever in the big boardroom he does this. Okay, that's what he does. He goes, can I ask you a question, John Rich? He never calls me John. John Rich? I look at him, I go, yes, sir. What's the question? He goes, well, you do a lot of big shows. Like, you're an entertainer? Yes, sir. You play for really big crowds? I go, I do. I play for really big crowds for a long time. He goes, well, have you seen these rallies I'm doing? Like, it's 30, 40,000 people. I said, yeah, it's unbelievable. He goes, so here's the question. Why are people booing me at my rallies when I bring up the vaccine? This is the question from the President of the United States. A guy who is very proud at that moment of the fact that he was able to stomp the gas pedal and get that thing out because he's under the impression this is going to fix the problem.
Operation Warp Speed.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a guy who, to his own admission, one of the biggest egos on the earth.
Yeah.
And he's very proud of this. And I respect him to, there is no limit.
Right.
But I'm being asked a very direct question. And so, man, I looked at him and I said, okay, I'm going to tell you the answer and you're not going to like it. He goes, okay, what's the answer? You're going to look at me like this? I said, let me start off by saying this. We, the American people, do not trust the people that you were forced to trust at the time when this was happening. Let's start there. And I said, by the people we don't trust, here's who I mean. The FDA, the CDC, the NIH, the WHO, Fauci, and all the rest of them. I said, Mr. President, we consider them to be a bunch of murderous, depopulationist psychopaths.
And his reaction was...
That's a good way to start.
His eyes are, he goes, unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's stunned. No, he is stunned that I said that. I said, now, let me tell you why they're booing you. I said, because all of them, including me, I said, I would boo you. I would boo you.
Did you really?
You did not. I would boo you.
Really?
If you brought that up, and here's why. And he's looking at me, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the last time this guy's going to invite me to anything.
Yeah.
He's never going to call me again. I'm throwing massive shade on a former president's, in his mind, one of his biggest accomplishments. And it dawned on me, nobody had told the man what I was telling him right now, because they all work for him. They all got something to gain from him.
Yes,
they're not going to tell him this because they're not serving him well. I don't work for him. And I think a lot of him, and I want him to understand the truth about it. So I said, here's the problem. Here's why they're booing you, Mr. President, because every human being out in that rally, either themselves or they know someone directly who has been harmed by the vaccine or has even died from it, including me. I said, I got members of my own family who were forced to take it against their will to keep their jobs, and now they've got all kinds of problems. big problems, heart problems, lung problems. And he's looking at me, and he looks around the table and he goes, "This is unbelievable." I mean, he goes, has anyone else heard this? Herschel Walker, he was running for Senate at the time. He goes, "Mr. President, I mean, down in Georgia, my constituents come up at my rallies, and what John just said, man, I hear it every single day." Looks over at Marcia. Marcia's sitting there going, looks around the table, and then Lindsey Graham, who's sitting across. So you're here, or I'm here. I'm sorry, but you're Lindsey Graham.
Sorry, you're Lindsey. Hey, Lindsey, everybody.
Okay.
I'm Lindsey.
You're Lindsey Graham, and you're me. Okay. As I'm going into the part where I said, even in my own family, I have Lindsey Graham busts in with it swishing his Chardonnay around and said, "Mr. President, if you listen to conspiracy theorists like John Rich, the Democrats are going to take credit for what you did, and they're going to beat you in the next election with it."
Oh,
and so I'm looking at Trump, and he's sitting over there, and he does that, and I looked at him and I said, "Do not interrupt me when I'm speaking. Do you understand me?"
You what?
And he looked at me and he goes, "Well, I didn't mean to disrespect you." I go, "Yeah, but you did."
Oh.
So.
Right now, you look like Wyatt Earp. And it's very intimidating.
Trump is right here. You're Lindsey Graham, okay? I go, I'm holding him.
Oh, good. Yeah. You're Lindsey Graham.
I look back up, at the president. I look at him one more time. I go, "Now, let me finish what I was saying."
Oh, man.
And then I finished it. Okay. Trump ended that by saying, "So I guess no more vaccine talk." I said, "I think that's a good idea." I said, "I think you're going to learn a lot about it. But yes, I think that's a good idea because that's the only thing that would make us ever boo you, Mr.
Yeah, because
President."
you're right. I mean, that's one of the
amazing.
things that I think a lot of people didn't agree with him on, and it was the vaccine and him being proud of it. And Jason actually has a story that's similar to that.
Well, the thing about Trump and the vaccine, Trump never mandated the vaccine.
No, exactly.
Trump said, "You're all the doctors. Go figure out how to make this stop."
we need to make this
And he
available.
trusted these people that we now all know are a bunch of depopulationist animals. We all know that now, but he never mandated it because mandating an experimental medical procedure violates the Nuremberg Code. It's a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
Which I hope we see that play out because people need to be held accountable for
Do you
that
think we
in a
will
major
see it
way.
play out?
I think it will.
Yeah.
So that was the story there. So, again, he has called me since then. He does text me back from the Super Bowl. He has invited me to more. So I did not lose my friendship with him. I think if anything, based on a couple of things he's asked me over the last year or so, he probably appreciates the fact that I'll say something to him that he don't really want to hear that.
Okay, so Mark, when I was watching this, I wrote down, how can there be such a disconnect? It's hard to believe and it's frustrating. What are your
Right.
thoughts?
Well, first off, we've talked about this disconnect with President Trump before. I have brought up the vaccines many times and said that he is going to pay a very heavy price. This disconnect with President Trump, even John Rich said this man's got an ego the size of the earth. I had no guys who have a very high IQ who have an ego like that. And the problem is when they have a high IQ like that, they operate out of their intellect. They don't listen to others a lot of times. And Trump's not listening. These vaccines are going to hit him hard. When I say hard, this is not just in the American population coming after him. This will be a global population coming after him. And they will come after him for crimes against humanity. Now, will they succeed? That's not what I'm saying. But the finger will get pointed at Trump. Now, he said a couple of things. Trump was saying it was unbelievable, like he didn't know any better. His advisors have something to gain, which he is correct, because that goes back to the prophetic words that God's been saying, that Trump's advisors are not bad people. They're evil people. They're hell-bent literally on trying to make Trump look bad. The problem is, why does Trump keep these people around him? We've talked about this time and time again, the people he has chosen. We'll go into more of that as the show goes on with some of these other people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lindsey Graham talked about conspiracy theorists and the Democrats will win. Well, see, there you go. There's the manipulating of the president that, hey, that's a conspiracy theory with the vaccines. If you don't go down this road with the vaccines, the Democrats are going to win. And see, Trump, unfortunately, is starting to fall into the political and politician type realm versus being his own person, if you will. And so, and then he said, John Rich said something about it would be better that we don't talk about it anymore. And wrong. This is going to come up. This is going to come up. And so this has affected every single person on the planet. Operation Warp Speed has. No, President Trump did not mandate it, but he handed the deep state the very weapon they wanted to depopulate the planet. 70.6% of the world's population has had at least one COVID shot. There's no man, there's no woman, and there's no child on this planet that Operation Warp Speed has not or will not affect. Doctors are now saying that it does not matter whether you are vaccinated or unvaccinated. Every single man, woman, and child needs to be treated right now, literally. So until they come up with something, an antidote, or whatever the case may be, to stop this mess from the world's population that they have created. Now, I'm not saying Trump's 100% responsible for this. I understand that some of this is a military operation. I get that with his advisors, but it doesn't really matter what you and I think, Michelle. It doesn't matter what the Anons think. It matters what does God think and what does God say. And I can tell you right now, God used me to prophesy that this man was going to be driven to his knees because of his ego. And he was. I released the prophetic word that said that there was an assassination attempt. 48 hours later, there it was. Now, here's the thing. Am I saying that's going to happen again? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is the King David moment with him. He has been, listen, God gave President Trump four prophetic signs, and he's not listening. Now, I love President Trump. I respect him. I appreciate everything he does, but he's not listening. The first two were whether it's his sister and his mother-in-law died within a 4-week period. That was a prophetic sign to the president and the rest of the world that unless you repent for this, this is going to keep creeping closer to home until you do. Well, what happened? The next one was an assassination attempt on his own life. The next one, another assassination attempt. That's 4 prophetic signs that were given to him. He's still not listening because he's doubling down. And until he repents, and he literally repents and renounces these vaccines, and they release something to stop what's going on, the damage that's going on to the global population, this is not going to be good for him. So we need people to be praying for President Trump right now. I mean, seriously praying, because God is going to drive him to his knees. And I say, this is a King David moment for a reason. King David did what? God took a child from King David and drove him to his knees in repentance. Now, am I saying that's what's going to happen? No, that's not what I'm saying. It will be something very personal for him. Whatever that's going to look like, I don't know. God has not shown me. All I know is God's going to drive him to his knees because of that ego, because he refuses to listen to what God is saying. It's like having the attitude of a high IQ and saying, well, you know what? If God's going to correct me, he'll come to me face to face. I've actually heard people say that.
Sure.
That is probably the most arrogant statement you will ever hear on planet Earth. But the point of this is this. These guys, a lot of times, these high IQs, and I'm not trying to slam the president, okay? That's not what I'm doing here. I'm asking people for prayers because this is not going to go well for him. This is not going to go well for his family because these vaccines, this is the largest genocide and human sacrifice in human history from these vaccines. And so when you look at this, and when these people start pointing fingers, we have not hit the death curve yet. We still have not hit the pinnacle of this because the doctors are now worried that these turbo cancers, if you will, I know because I'm going through it right now with my mother-in-law, who, by the way, unfortunately, she took the vax. And so with this pride, this ego of him being proud of this, what I would like to see the president do is bring people into an auditorium. Those who have been vaccinated and those who have lost loved ones or those who are suffering right now. And then let me hear you say that you're the father of the vaccines and you're proud of it. And let's see how that goes for you, because this ain't going to go too well. It's not going to go too well. And furthermore, let me hear you say how proud you are of the vaccines when we've lost loved ones out here and nothing's being done about it. Why are they still? We're going to show something else there in just a second, how they're still continuing with the mRNA. Why have they not been taken off the market right now? They should have been taken off the market the second he came into office. Haven't done it.
Okay, so 200T says, so the president couldn't mandate the vax, but businesses, corporations, schools, and the military could. Very sus. Well, he could have. He just chose not to.
He chose not to. And look, this is the excuse that they use, is that he didn't mandate it. It doesn't look. And let me be very clear about this for a second from a God standpoint.
Okay.
It's not the fact that he came up with the vaccine. It's the fact that he pushed the vaccine. He was Big Pharma's #1 marketing voice by saying it was a good thing. That's where God's going to hold him accountable, because I have testimonies from people that have sent in and said, Mark, we took the president at his word saying that it was a good thing. We took the vaccine because he said, go out and get it. It's a good thing. And now we're sick. I've lost loved ones. They're dying. That's where God's going to hold him accountable.
I had a client that way. He said, but Trump is saying it's a good thing. And I've been on Fox, and this was 5 years ago, you know?
Right.
So I'm like, but he doesn't mean it. This is not true. Please don't take it. He took it. His wife took it. They both 30 days later ended up in Vanderbilt. They were in Vanderbilt for a month. My client died. His wife lived. You know, I mean, insane stuff. And so you're right. I don't think there's a single one of us that it hasn't affected in one way or another.
No, it is. And the doctors are saying right now, every single man, woman, and child, because of the shedding, this Operation Warp Speed has affected all of us. It doesn't matter who you are. You go to a restaurant, you eat off utensils, they don't clean them. It's fluid transfer, doesn't matter. This has created an issue that nobody's talking about right now. We've talked about this with the military, fire service, law enforcement, these vaccinations, these wrecks, these aircraft accidents. You're going to find out that all of this is being attributed to the vaccinations, a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Aqua Girl says those around him are gatekeeping the truth.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes
you can
and
only
no.
gatekeep so much.
That's right.
Now, this was by about a year ago. So it's from what I don't know. I'll have to go back and look when Herschel Walker was running for office, because, you know, he was running for office at that time. So this has been a minute. It would be interesting to see where Trump is now with all of this. Obviously, I don't think that just not bringing it up that's not the way to go.
No, that's not the way to handle it, because he's going to have to publicly come out and renounce it and reverse this stuff and come out with something to stop the effects of the vaccines. They're going to have to do it. They don't have a choice.
Well, is there something that they can do?
I was told by the doctors, the white coats, basically, that they were saying that there is something that they were trying to work on to stop the effects of the vaccine, but it will not reverse the effects of the damage that's already been done.
Yeah.
Now, is that true? I'm just going by what they're saying.
Rules PW says, I lost my brother and sister-in-law. Both were vaxxed and boosted.
Yep. And listen, it's not going to be right now that they come after him, because everybody's too focused on saving the world. They're too focused on saving America, the economy, or whatever the case may be. It may not be a year now or 2 years from now. There is going to come a time when people will turn on him because of the death toll that is taking place.
Remember, we haven't hit the precipice.
We have not hit the precipice yet, guys. We have not, because they were saying like 5 years, I think it was 5 years before it really hit this thing. Well, those who took it in 2020, 2025, you took it in 2021, 2026. Now, some are being affected immediately. We've all heard those stories.
Yeah.
But for him to sit there and say that he doesn't know anything about this, or it's unbelievable, I'm sorry. And I'm not going to buy this garbage either, that we didn't have another way around this other than bringing a vaccine to market. I'm sorry. I'm not going to buy it with the technology we have. Not buying it.
Okay, so KM Sunshine 1974 is asking a great question, Mark. She goes, I do remember Trump in his first term took Regeneron and talked good about it. Could Regeneron be the vax that Trump is referring to?
Good point here. And let me talk about that for a second, because people say, well, he was coding out this, that, and the other. Sorry, you don't play with people's lives by coding out something like that. If there was a bad vaccine, he should have said Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna. If there was a good one, he should have said which one was good. This is where God's going to hold him accountable. Now, look, let me say something else here, because we've been talking about, me and Melissa Leggett have been talking about endorsements, okay? And we were talking about the vaccine thing, because I don't have the full revelation of this, so I can't bring it to bear for people right now. But all I know is there's something to do with endorsements right now, guys, in the spiritual realm that Trump has done. And I was talking on the phone to Melissa the other day, and she had to hang up, take a phone call. She was going to call me right back. I looked on the wall, and there was this little itty bitty spider. I thought, well, I'm not going to mash him on the wall, right? So I just kind of knocked him off the wall, and I looked down below next to a piece of furniture, and there was this small spider web he fell into. And I went, oh, you fell into your own web. And I heard the Lord say, that's what Trump has done. He's fallen into his own web. The Sun Tzu psyops, this garbage psyops, has now come back, and it's going to bite him hard at some point. Might not be right now, right next year. Some point it's going to come back, and it will be a stain on the Trump empire that they will not be able to remove this vaccine thing. Because again, this is the largest human sacrifice and genocide in human history.
Wow. Wow. Our side 62 says my cousin's young college age son died from the CV-19 vaccine, and it almost killed her brother. My cousin is still grieving her son's death. We're so sorry. Our side 62. Producer Ron, you're going to have to pull YouTube. I'm sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to have to go either to X or Rumble, or you can go to truthtalkamerica.com. We can't have these conversations and talk about the shot and be on YouTube. You just can't. So, Producer Ron,
Right.
please stop the feed there, honey. Okay, so let's go on. So we have a part 2 to the John Rich stuff. I wrote it as a part 2. So, Producer Ron, could you show that, please? All right. So, Mark, so this is from today.
Yep.
And it says new, and it says Trump FDA has fast track designation for a self-amplifying mRNA vaccine candidate against H5N1 bird flu. What in the world is this about?
This is basically a contract that was awarded to this company, Arcturus, if that's how you pronounce that, for this amplifying mRNA vaccine. This is the Trump FDA, guys. Now, look, I'm going to say something very controversial. I really don't care at this point. I really don't, because people are going to get mad at me for even bringing this stuff up about Trump, because they're so worried about losing their country. They're worried. They're turning a blind eye and a deaf ear when he makes a mistake, and that's not what God wants right now. But there is stuff right now with this FDA fast track. This is Trump's administration. It's making him look like he's giving the perception that he is a part of the depopulation agenda. That's what his evil advisors have been trying to do, and it's working. This is what the spiritual coup was about. He's under a witchcraft spell from the spiritual advisors, from all these people that he has surrounded himself with, because I've been calling this out for years. You cannot surround yourself with this much demonic influence and not have it affect you at some point. It's affecting his literal decision making right now, which is what it was designed to do, and it's working.
Yeah.
This should not, mRNA vaccine stuff should not even be up here. We should not even be talking about this right now. They should all have been wiped off the market by at this point. What happened to America first?
Right. Taco Ride says, I think the so-called long COVID was a product of the vaccine. I know 2 people that were vaccinated that suffer from long COVID. That's exactly what it is. Long COVID is the symptoms from the shot.
Right.
It's exactly it, Taco Ride. You're absolutely right. It's just they don't want to tell you that it's from the shot, so they call it long COVID. No, you know, how many times do we know that somebody's gotten a shot, and it's not even just that. It could be childhood vaccine shots, and then all of a sudden a child has, you know, autism or whatever. So that is a symptom of that shot that they got.
And the one thing that I feel like the Lord is showing me too, that also may drive him to his knees, will be once we hit the death pinnacle, the pinnacle of the death curve, he will start to realize what he's done, what he was a part of. Now, he's not 100% responsible for that. That's not what I'm saying.
Sure.
But he was a part of it. And I think when he realizes and it hits him what he was a part of and put his name endorsement to, because we're going with endorsement to, because he endorsed them, that's when I believe it'll drive him to his knees. That could be the part where it drives him to his knees at that point.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. All right. Let's go on ahead, and I want to cover the 0 arrests. So take a look at this. You know, people are speaking up, and there's an image, Producer Ron. I want that to show. And so you can see, so Attorney General Pam Bondi comes out with an ex post, and she's like, this is a landmark victory of the rule of law. And she's talking about whatever. And you can see where other people are saying Fox News appearances number 23. 0 arrests, and Epstein files, 0. So great job, Pamela. People are wanting to see, where are the Epstein files? Where's the truth? What's going on? And where are the arrests? What is going on?
Well, you tell me, because I mean, again, here we go again. Pam Blondie's what I call her, because we had her here as Attorney General here in the state of Florida. I mean, she wasn't that great here as far as I'm concerned. You know, you got Cash Patel up there. You know, all these guys have got egos. All they care about is their Fox News moment right now. And so we're going to show some more of that here in a minute. But the point is that they were bragging here a while back, where they had made like 4 arrests, Trang the Gang, whatever their name is, gang. You know, I'm thinking 4 arrests. How many days into this are we now? Almost 90 days. Yeah, we're almost 90 days. Let's just say we're almost 90 days into this, right? We've made 4 arrests, guys, of major you know, gangs. I'm thinking to myself, I can make 4 arrests in 4 minutes. It's taking us almost 90 days to do this. At this rate, it's going to take 50 years to get these guys out of here at this rate. So, I mean, you know, again, these guys are not doing themselves any favors here, because it's all about the PR moment. It's all about, and we're going to show one of those PR moments here in a second. It seems like they care more about the Fox News moments than they do about the actual doing the job.
Okay, so let's think about this. So we were talking about, you know, where are the arrests? So let's look at the not enough. So this is where producer Ron Not Enough pull that up. So this is an ex post of mine I retweeted, where the Gateway Pundit said Cash Patel's FBI suspends the deep state operative Brian Otten. And so it says he's the analyst who pushed the Trump-Russia hoax, discredited the Hunter Biden scandal, and was behind the Mar-a-Lago raid. And I said, this is not enough. He needs to be arrested. So this is why we have 0 arrests. They're suspending this guy. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? And so he's suspended? Like, what is going on right now? And so that didn't sit well. And then let's take a look at the Cash and Pam Bondi announced the $500 million drug bust. So let's take a look at this article. Okay, well, when we look at this, so this is also about Cash and Pam Bondi. So this is big. It says, again, reported by Gateway Pundit, but it's saying Giuliani criticizes Cash Patel, and Pam Bondi says, I'm very upset right now. So,
well, he was upset because Cash Patel put that guy in. I can't remember the guy's name now. I have to pull it up over the J6 Washington D.C. Office, or the FBI.
Yes.
And he was coming after Catholics. He was coming after J6ers. And they just put this guy in the head office in the FBI field office.
Stephen Jensen.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was instrumental in going to really after, he was one of the ones that going after really people that were innocent. And he was, I think, instrumental. It's my understanding he was instrumental in a lot of these people having jail time that were innocent Americans that were just patriotic, Trump supporting Americans. Okay. Right. And so that's why there's a big, you know, brouhaha about it.
In the article, it talked about how they wouldn't respond to Giuliani. By the way, he asked for a call back. He tried to call him. They wouldn't call him back. And she was talking about, or they were saying something. Somebody had said something about, well, there's a reason why he's in there. You'll learn later. Well, you know what? I'm sick and tired of hearing about later. I'm sick and tired of hearing about all these excuses about stuff. You know what I mean? Why is it these people are occupying these things when we've got plenty of capable people that can do this and do the job and do it right?
Well, he's in now. And so I don't want to hear about later, because kicking that can down the road, how many years have we been waiting? And so, you know,
and people say, well, you know, you got to understand, Trump puts these people in place because they can shine the spotlight on them. I am so sick and tired of hearing that junk, because honestly, how long do we have to wait through this cycle of this wash cycle, if you will, of people going through these different positions just to expose them? If they're corrupt, bust them.
Mm-hmm.
The American people, I did not vote for 4 more years of psyops. I didn't vote for 4 more years of psyops. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Excellent.
I voted for justice, man. Judgment and justice.
That's right. I don't know a Trump supporter that voted for him that voted for psyops. I think we all voted for the justice.
Everybody's tired of it.
Yeah. And again, it's been 84 days. And you know what? I don't know how long Pam Bondi's been in office, but it's pretty close to that. And, you know, what did she say? She said day one. Wasn't it her that said that day one that she was going to be releasing the Epstein files?
That was Cash Patel. Cash Patel said day one he's going to release the FBI files. Day one he's going to turn the FBI headquarters into a museum. Well, none of that's happened. That guy's ego is just as bad as anybody else's. I mean, honestly.
Okay, well,
You know,
let's take a look at his video because
yeah,
I want to look at this video that you and I were talking about, and I wanted to share something
yeah.
with you that came to me while I was watching it. Let's take a look at Cash at the press conference.
General Bondi, we're here today because of your dedicated leadership to safeguard American lives, because you had the courage to follow President Trump's courage to put our children first and to make sure that the narco traffickers, and make no mistake, this administration has labeled them foreign terrorist organizations because that's what they are. There is no lethal force on planet Earth that is responsible for an overdose death of an American citizen every 7 minutes, more so than these federal terrorist organizations, foreign terrorist organizations. We are humbled to be a part of this Department of Justice, and we are going to continue to safeguard our streets. This is what it looks like when the United States whole-of-government approach brings every resource to bear, from the Department of Defense and the United States Coast Guard, from HSI, from FBI, from DEA, and so many others. They are going to get all the drugs off the streets, off the markets, and as Attorney General Bondi said, we are going to lock them up. They are no longer going to be free to roam. We are going to dismantle the next man up theory that has been breeding in these Mexican cartels for generations. No more. We are here today because of your brave work. The men and women of the FBI that I lead, I'm humbled and honored to be here in South Florida, where I spent so much of my career before I moved to Washington, D.C. And looking around, I'm awe-inspired by the fact that when you take the rules and regulations that blockaded these brave men and women of law enforcement, military, and you unshackle them, then you should look at this seizure, and you should see how much it multiplies, and see how many children and how many young adults and how many adults' lives that we have just saved. They did it. We're fortunate to be their leaders. We're humbled to be here. And you will see this happen across the country, because this is not a one-off for General Bondi. She has made this a mission priority, and the FBI will follow in every corner of this country and every square centimeter of this planet to eradicate the foreign terrorist organization that are killing American citizens. They will be held accountable. We will take preventive measures, and we will scour the ends of the earth to find every single one of them.
Okay,
That
Mark.
was pretty intimidating. Let me tell you.
I know
You
you're
know, this guy. So look, this guy's ego is just as bad. It's very unprofessional with those sunglasses on, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? He's trying to be way cool, Junior. And look, everybody knows me. No, I'm not a fan of this guy. You know, he talked about saving the kids. Says the guy who has targeted the kids with Wicca witchcraft with his books that Trump endorsed. There's the endorsement again.
Oh.
And so this is the endorsement thing coming into play again here, guys. This is the problem. So again, when I get full revelation, I'll bring it to everybody. But this is the endorsement issue that's going on. So, you know, if these guys had as many arrests as they do news conferences, we'd be a far lot down the road than what we are right now.
Well, when I was looking at Cash, I was thinking about the whole thing about his book, his magic book, the plot to kill the king.
Right.
And I wrote, where is the ecclesia? Meaning, where is our representation within these governmental positions? So
There is none. There is none. Zero.
Yeah.
Zilch.
Don't know if today's viewers have realized that.
Nope.
But I know
That's
for
a good point, though. That's a good point, because what you bring up is actually the church, institutionalized church, has that position, which is demonic. Period. It's not the ecclesia that has it. They have it. The enemy has it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was something that came to me while I was watching that video. And, it's not necessarily a thus saith the Lord, but I always feel like a lot of times those are downloads from the Holy Spirit. And when I watch something and that comes to me like that, it's like, oh, wow, that's a great point. Nobody really talks about that. And it's like, where is our representation?
We have none. Zero. So I'm sure the Coast Guard was pretty pleased that Pam Bondi and Cash Patel hogged the microphone. You know, those guys are the ones that did the bust. So
okay, so Topaganda said, I hope I'm saying that right. So Topanga 1956 on X said Steve Bannon called her out today, which would be Pam Bondi, and Judicial Watch is suing Trump administration for the Epstein files.
Don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah. Now I
At
did
this point, I
see.
don't feel sorry for any of them at this point because there's too many games being played as far as I'm concerned. I think these guys are in there protecting something. Bongino came out. I'm not a Bongino fan either. He came out saying that, just because you don't see something being done doesn't mean it's not being done. I'm tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
We've heard this for how many years have we been hearing this? Stuff behind the scenes are happening. We're tired of hearing it. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be the most transparent administration in history, right? Well, they
Yeah.
are in some aspects. But the problem is, if we're being transparent, why are things going on behind the scenes? They should be telling the American people what's going on.
The frustration also comes with what is going on in North Carolina and East Tennessee. Trump visited and nobody has gotten any help that I know of, really. Real help.
Right.
I'm talking financial help.
Yes.
I'm talking they haven't even gotten the petty handout of the $750 that they were supposed to get months ago.
But there's the disconnect that we talked about on your prior shows with Trump. Look, the problem is he has a disconnect with what's going on with the middle and lower class people. There's a disconnect there. He doesn't understand what's going on at the street level because his advisors are not telling him, because they all live in ivory towers as well. You got to remember that these guys come from upper class. A lot of these guys come from upper class. They
Sure.
don't understand what happens. They've never worked the streets. Look, Pam Bondi and Cash Patel, they're not even intimidating. Tom Homan, to me, when he comes on and does an interview, he means business.
Yeah.
That's a guy that's intimidating the enemy right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is a disconnect. So he did good with that. But the problem is there's a disconnect with what's going on the street. And so he's got to reconnect with what's going on and get somebody in there telling him what's happening on the street level, period. Because none of this stuff, he went to North Carolina with who? Franklin Graham, who we all know is forget it. And so, and brought supplies in there. And that was the last we've heard. He said one or two press conferences after that, but that's it. Nothing else has been done.
Die Laughing says, "Isn't that cute, Cash? Stop telling us what you're going to do and just get it done.
No
Show
kidding.
us video after it's done."
Yep.
Yeah. TC Pine 1 says, "We're tired of no arrests." I agree with Mark 100%. Yeah, and me, I agree too. That's what I've been saying. Where are the arrests? I want some accountability.
Right.
And arrest isn't enough. I don't want another investigation. I'm not going to be excited about another investigation. I want to see some people being sentenced to prison long term.
Perp walked.
Yes.
Need to be perp walked.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to, show them being executed for treason, well, I'll watch.
Well, and look, and here's the other thing. We've talked about this before on your shows, where it's accountability. It's not that we're attacking the president here, guys. We're simply holding him accountable. He works for us. Now, he's been very good to say that. In his defense, he has been very good to say, I work for you, the people. I'm giving you, the people, the power. If that's the case, then the president cannot get mad at the American people when they say, hey, Mr. President, we don't like something. We want this done, not that. Or we want to go this direction, not that direction. He can't get aggravated with that. That's giving the power back to the people. But you, the people, have to use your voice like we're doing on this podcast right now through social media, emails, phone calls. Put the pressure on the Trump administration to get something done. That's where you come into play. You have to do that. We do it respectfully and lovingly, but we mean business. It's like we're tired of the games. We're ready for justice to take place here. But you have to speak up.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, on X, Christy Noam. So Rhonda says, Christy Noam, who goes out in the field with makeup and hoop earrings with AK-47 press conference. Yeah,
I've seen that too. These guys are not quick. And look, I talked to pre-interview about Pam Bondi. I saw her in a little video, 1 minute video where she was addressing a terrorist or addressing somebody, and she said, we're gonna look for you and we're gonna hunt you down. And I just thought, oh my gosh, they're just quaking in their boots right now, because I know I am. I mean, again, when Tom Homan speaks, these guys are going to quake a little bit. You know what I mean? Because he means business. But again, why do you put these people in these positions? It's to me, it's a psychological thing too.
All right. Inside Paper today, they shared out. Let's take a look at what they've got. I think this was on X today, Mark, that you shared it. Insider Paper says.
Oh no, it was on Telegram. I saw it on Telegram.
Oh, okay. So Justin Trump says that the best definition of intelligence is the ability to predict the future.
Right.
Is that AI? What is
I don't know what that means, quite honestly, and what that concerns me, quite honestly, because even if it is AI, it's not good. But we've talked about this in prior shows where the psychics the remote viewers and
Clairvoyance.
clairvoyants. It's you're dabbling, or you're not dabbling. You're in witchcraft when you deal with those things. So is this how they're trying to predict the future? Is through these guys? If that's the case, there's another strike against him right there, and we've talked about that before. That you cannot operate in that realm. We're not meant to operate in that second heaven like this, and that's what the military always does. They never seek God's guidance for something. They always seek the dark side.
Well, this reminds me of, when we were getting ready to vote him in the first time a month before that election. I've shared this story a couple of times, but I was in my kitchen and I was cleaning the granite countertops. I was home alone and, TV wasn't on, nothing like that. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, be patient with him. He's a baby Christian. Now,
Yeah.
this was,
Yeah.
9 years ago, right? So,
right.
or more. And so, yeah, it was about 9 years ago. And so almost 10. And, it's like, okay, at this point, what in
Yeah.
the world is going on here?
Right. At this point, right now, he should be way more mature in his spirituality right now. And the reason he is not is because of the people he has surrounded himself with.
Hmm.
Again, you are who you are. You're. It's like guilt by association. It's like, kind of, sort of. It's like who you surround yourself with is who is going to influence you. Who do you have as your advisors? Who do you have people speaking into your life? People like Paula White. You're not going to grow. You're going down the wrong road, which is exactly why he's not growing, if you will, or he's listening to the wrong people. It's that demonic, Jezebelic influence that he has surrounded himself with that only he can deal with.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at Colonel Earl Matthews. So he's a United States Army Reserve member. He's been with them for 25 years. And this was taken, videotaped on April the 17th, 2024. And let's hear what he has to say. This is very important. And I think that we're not done with J6.
No.
And I think there's something more going on here. I'm going to explain why we're showing this after the video. So let's take a look at what he had to say.
I now recognize Colonel Earl Matthews for 5 minutes.
Chairman Loudermilk, Ranking Member Torres, members of the subcommittee, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Earl Matthews, and I'm a colonel in the United States Army Reserve. I'm in the 25th year of my military service. I love our Army, and I'm committed to our Army values. I'm here today because two senior general officers of the United States Army, General Charles A. Flynn and Lieutenant General Walter E. Pyatt, have acted contrary to those values. Generals Pyatt and Flynn have lied to Congress, to federal investigators, and to the American people about why it took so long for the District of Columbia National Guard to deploy to the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Their distortions contributed to a deeply and fundamentally flawed Department of Defense Inspector General investigation and to deficiencies in other official inquiries. On January 6, 2021, I was on duty and present during numerous conversations, video conferences, and phone calls leading up to, during, and after the riot, which was engulfing the Capitol. When I say these general officers lied, I do not do so lightly or cavalierly. I speak from personal knowledge, having interacted with them on January 6th in my official military capacity. Unfortunately, some senior officials within the Department of the Army and the Department of Defense have sought to protect or to promote Generals Flynn and Pyatt. These senior civilian officials have excused, condoned, or overlooked the misconduct of these officers. As a former acting general counsel of the Department of the Army and its chief legal officer, I take these matters seriously, even if others don't. I'm glad the subcommittee has an open mind and is committed to the dogged search for the truth. In my formal statement, which I provided to the committee in advance of today's hearing, I detailed General Pyatt's and General Flynn's intentional misrepresentations to the Congress and to federal investigators. During today's hearing, I hope to discuss with you how they lied, where they lied, and in my opinion, why they lied. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, it's no shocker to any of us that there were lies that were told, especially by General Flynn, Michael Flynn's brother, Charles Flynn. Producer Ron, I'm sending you over 2 photos I want you to share that I just thought of. And so, real quick about this on this topic. So this testimony was one of a number of them about what really happened. We know that there were 2 different times that President Trump on January 6th or prior to January 6th was asking for 10,000 troops. He was asking for reserve troops.
Right.
And of course that didn't happen. He was denied both times. And so of course they're using the excuse that it was because they were worried of what it would look like. And producer Ron, when you get those 2 photos, just go on ahead and bring up the first one with Colonel Matthews with President Trump, or I'm sorry, with Vance. So, at the end of the day, I think that, there's no way we can move forward until we go back and take care of the shots, Epstein and J6.
2020 election.
And yes.
You can't move forward till all of this is taken care of. And see, this is the other thing too. Notice Flynn's name's being brought up here. So, and we all know that there's some other things that were being implicated with the other Flynn. But, is that why Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are in there? Because Mike Flynn only endorsed 2 people, Devin Nunes and Kash Patel.
Yeah.
Because we all know that Kash Patel is a Flynnian from the Reawaken Tour.
And so here we are with Colonel Earl Matthews and Vice President Vance.
Yep.
And then we also have another photo. Now, I want you to look at this photo. Look how big Trump's smiling.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't some kind of a calm. To me, it's
sure.
a calm.
Both of them are calms. I think they don't realize what this guy's saying right now, how important this is, because I think that this is going to take down probably some people. But here we go again. How long is it going to take? How long is the investigations? And I like what you said. We cannot move forward until the vaccines are taken care of, the 2020 election is taken care of, J6 is taken care of. And what was the 4th thing? There was 4 things there.
Oh shoot, I don't know.
Okay, well, there was like 4 things you rattled off there. So you can't move forward until Epstein, until the Epstein stuff, until all this stuff is taken care of, guys. We cannot move forward and heal as a country, or even as a globally. You cannot heal until some of this stuff, because look, everything hinges on America. When America sneezes, the rest of the world catches cold. So until America gets its act together, the rest of the world's going to have a hard time following until we get our act together. And so much damage has been done, good, bad, or indifferent, willingly or unwillingly, like through the vaccines or the election, the 4-year pause we had. So much damage has been done. It's going to take years to clean this up. It's going to take years to bring healing to this.
Well, let's just what you just said. The thing about Doge, the video, the little short video clip, producer Ron, on Doge. Okay, so I was going to play this later, but let's play it now. Well, you just said that. So producer Ron, let's take a look at that video on Doge. It's like 10 seconds.
Why do you not like Doge?
Why do I not like Doge?
Yeah.
Because making a government more cost efficient is not the same as making it better for its people.
How? Saving you money is bad?
Saving money when it's going to a good place already, like watching to see if volcanoes are about to explode.
So studying men's menstrual cycles is a good thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
She said absolutely. So when you say it's going to take years to get this straightened out, how does somebody say absolutely?
And look, that's the kind of thing you can't straighten out with an executive order, by the way.
No.
That's a spiritual issue.
Mm-hmm.
And who do we have in there? Paula White.
Yeah.
So this is why it's going to take years to straighten this out, guys.
Yeah, we got a problem.
We got a huge problem.
Yeah. But I don't understand about North Carolina and East Tennessee. I just don't understand. Why is the help not coming?
Same thing with Maui.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing with Maui. Same thing here. California fire. Same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's non-existent.
I don't understand it. What's going on?
This is the disconnect.
All right. It's just frustrating,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Well,
All right.
I think everyone is war weary, if you will. They're just weary. They're tired. I know of no one that's not dealing with health issues. I know of no one that's not dealing with financial issues. All these different problems are
Mhm.
coming to a head right now, and so everyone's tired. It's like they're tired of the games. All we want is what we voted for, which is justice and judgment against the wicked. And let me tell you something. I'm gonna say it anyway. I don't give a crap at this point. God's already told me if this man does not implement judgment on the wicked that he has anointed him to do, God will remove him. Simple as that. Now, I hate to put it that way, but that is what God has told me, period. He has anointed Trump to take down the wicked and implement judgment on them, not God's people, through the vaccines or this, that, and the other. And so until he does,
Yeah.
it's almost like saying, okay, God, you know what? I'm denying my destiny that you've given me.
Yeah.
That's not good to do.
Don't ever take it away. Don't ever take away my freedom. Just said, I remember the prophecy that Mark said, if they wait too long, the right is going to get upset. Now that is happening. Yes.
Yeah.
Juju for you says, being a Katrina survivor, it takes years to
Right.
recover. Give consistent help now.
Right.
And you know what? That is so good. I have heard that over and over. In fact, you know what the number one fear was that I was hearing when we started going to Swannanoa, North Carolina, when we started going to the different places in North Carolina and East Tennessee. Do you know what the number one thing was I kept repeatedly hearing? I kept repeatedly hearing, we're so afraid we're going to be forgotten because they're so destitute. They're losing everything. They've lost everything.
Yep.
I mean, people are living in tents and people are
Right.
living in cars. And
Right.
so there are people living in cars that are thankful for having a car. I mean,
Right.
let that sink in.
Well,
In fact, did you see the thing about how they're saying now that there's a new thing going on right now, and it's I say new, it's a trend, and it's trending upward, meaning it's increasing, and it's people living in their cars, and they're saying it's because the incomes, the wages are
Yep.
not keeping track with how much rent is costing. Of course, I think this is all very much intentional. You got BlackRock and Vanguard that are owning a lot of these apartment complexes that they're wanting a hole in the wall. They're wanting $1,700 for.
Well, and look, and I agree with everything you're saying right now. And the problem is this: here's the disconnect again. Trump's being advised to sign or an executive order for Kid Rock on concert tickets. Not a good look. Not a good look. When you have people who are destitute out here, still on the ground right now, living out of their cars, or don't even have anything to live in a tent, and you're signing an executive order for concert tickets. Personally, who gives a crap about a concert ticket right now? We have more pressing matters in this country than concerts.
Well, now that's one of the things I would say the word for the day is distraction. I think we're
Yeah.
seeing a lot of distractions. A lot of people talking about a lot of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until we get to the shots, the elections, and J6 and Epstein, I don't know a lot of people that are very excited about
No.
talking about much else.
No,
It's
I'm not excited about anything right now, to be honest with you. I mean, look,
I wanna talk about
when it comes to the military and economy, I trust the president. I trust him.
Sure.
When it comes to the medical genre, I will never trust him again. Period. Because he has broken my trust. I'm the type of guy you got to earn my trust. He has broken my trust. Just to make this drive this point home. If he came out right now and said, "Hey, I have a vaccine to cure every disease known to man," how many out there right now, raise your hand or whatever, put it in the comments, how many of you would actually take that vaccine right now at this point? I guarantee you 99% of the people out there are going to say, I wouldn't take it. Why? Because the president of the United States has broken your trust. That's why.
Yeah. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way. Okay, so let's keep going. We just got so much to cover. All right, the next one is let's take a look at the Vatican. So there's this Vatican. There's a tunnel from the Vatican to Jerusalem. This article is from January the 25th, 2018. But I know that you said that you felt like this was something that really you had a word for and wanted to talk about this. It reminds you of a word that you released. I'm sorry.
Right.
No, this is a recent thing. Your word was from January the 25th, 2018. You have a
Correct.
printed word that prophetic word that the Lord gave you. So share that.
So this has been shown before. This picture has, and it's a tunnel from the Vatican to Jerusalem. It is about 1,500 miles long. It crosses both land and water. Huge amount of gold was found in the Vatican, stacked 13 meters high. 650 planes carrying this gold. Now, this is a picture that's been shown before. Now I cannot prove that this picture is legit, and that's what is going on here. But I do have a friend who used to work for the UN before he became a Christian, who confirmed that he was in fact in that tunnel when he was with the UN. that that tunnel does exist. And so in this prophecy, January 25th, 2018, it's all roads lead to Rome. And I'll skip all this, just one part. It says, the Spirit of God says, there is a dig, an archaeological find that is coming in an underground vault, which will be so cataclysmic that it will rock the Christian world. The answer lies between Jerusalem and Vatican City. And everybody kept thinking, okay, is this a tunnel that leads to there? Well, I always thought that there was a tunnel because, you remember Solomon had all of his relics, his gold, his all of his possessions were under, I think, the Knights Templar at the time. And I didn't ever do this until I did some research on it. I was watching a documentary that I think his name is the Grand Master Templar. Don't hold me to that. But the Grand Master Templar, I believe, he said that basically he didn't answer to anyone on the planet except for one person, the Pope. And when Solomon's treasures disappeared, so did he. Or so did the Templars, you remember. So I don't know if they went scattered in different directions or did it go through this tunnel. The answer lies between Jerusalem and Vatican City. So is some of this stuff that we're looking for in this tunnel, the books, the scrolls that God's been talking about is coming? Don't know. We're going to find out.
Interesting.
But this is just a confirmation of the prophetic word to me.
Okay. All right. It's always good to hear those and see that. Okay. Let's talk about, this is, of course, we're into the Easter week, and many people now know about the Easter bunny and Easter and the whole, all the, and Ishtar. So this was released, and it says the Trump White House announces extraordinary Holy Week observance. And it's talking about the White House is organizing a series of events to celebrate Holy Week and Easter, led by President Donald Trump. Who's involved? Well, President Trump, and then we've got the White House Faith Office, Jennifer Korn, Caroline Levitt, Pastor Paula White, and so, and of course, in the photo you've got this big bunny rabbit. So, what's your take on this?
Again, we know we're not fans of the White House Faith Office because it's corrupted with the wrong people. You had, I believe it's Jennifer Korn and Paula White. We showed that picture, I think, on the last program where they had one was on each shoulder of Trump, and then all the men were behind them. Well, that's a sign of the Jezebel spirit. It should have been the other way around. And so, having an Easter bunny here, I mean, look, I get they're trying to appeal to the kids, but the same token, we all know that it's Ishtar, it's demonic, it's all of these things. So again, you think Paula White's going to tell him that? No. Just like John Rich, you heard it out of John Rich's mouth. These guys are there for their own personal gain. They're not going to tell the president the truth, and this is the problem.
All right, let's take a look at this graphic that shows the list of airplane accidents.
Yeah. So April is actually missing, and we've already had probably close to 5, 6 already in the month of April already. We've had a helicopter crash. We've had multiple plane crashes. Again, what's really going on with these plane crashes? I mean, is it really a deep state taking some of these down? Well, sure, I believe some of it is. Or is it some of it like we had some members of Congress at Reagan Airport where the wingtips had clipped one another on the tarmac? And it's like, okay, so is it that, or is it DEI, or is it something bigger? Is it the vaccines that are finally kicking in that are affecting the cognitive abilities of these pilots? Because I said this was going to happen years ago, that they would start yanking pilots' licenses away. They'd start yanking driver's licenses away. You see it on the street every day. When all you got to do is come to Florida, man. You want aggressive drivers? Come to Florida. And so, but again, is it affecting the cognitive abilities of the people where they can no longer do their job? And we already saw, it was like right after COVID, I think it was, that one military doctor, cardiologist, they having cardiac problems. She was grounding military pilots because of the cardiac issues. And they came after her lock, stock, and barrel and tried to shut her down. And I don't know, I can't remember whatever happened with that, but this is affecting everything right now, guys. Again, I go back to, they don't realize how bad this problem is, because when you start hiring people, like we have a huge hiring thing going on with the military right now, we got a huge influx of new people. Are you going to take guys who've had the vaccine? Are you going to put all this time, training, and effort, military, law enforcement, fire service, and turn around and have them die in training or die on the job because of the vaccine, because they can't handle the physical training, because of the myocarditis, or this, whatever the case may be? Are they going to come down with some funky cancer, or with the turbo cancers? Why would you in a million years hire someone with a vaccine right now at this point?
Yeah. Well, good luck finding somebody, that's old enough and in good enough condition, good enough shape.
Well, I said a long time ago that they're going to start calling guys back with experience, because they're going to lose so many guys that guys like me are going to get a call. Hey, Lieutenant Taylor, we need you back. Can you come back here and at least do some training for us, or whatever the case may be? We have no one with any experience right now.
Yeah, you've said over and over that that's going to happen.
And that's already happened with the military, from what I understand. Some of my military buddies have told me that's already started.
Oh, wow. Well, all right. That's interesting. Okay. So we have a couple of videos we want to show everybody. We always like to cover some of the crazy faith types of faith things, So let's take a look at this lady. She is something. Her name is Mary. What was her name? I wrote it down. Mary Wilson. Okay. So this is apparently in the Rock Church Elk Grove, California on, let's see, March 25th, 25. So this year. And listen to what comes out of her mouth. We'll talk about it on the other side of this video.
Don't you dare. You haven't tried because you know I'll sick the devil on you. Don't you ever try to say a negative thing about this man of God. I'll say it again. Don't you ever say anything negative about this man of God. He is the one that's going to stand before God and say, yeah, they were great. No, they're going to hell. Bobby, do you realize what you have in this church? Both of your boys are in the ministry because you have submitted yourself to this man. Don't you ever forget it. Parents, if you eat preacher's food, your children will be lost. I'm going to say it again. If anybody in here around the family table, your kids aren't dumb. They can hear. They don't wear hearing aids. They can hear you. If you say anything negative about this man of God, I'm telling you right now, you will lose your children. Mark it down. Mark this date and the time that I said that. You should be the most outspoken of how incredible your man of God is. How incredible. He's going to save your soul. Oh, God.
Okay, so she's an apostolic Pentecostal teacher. That's a lot to say in once. All right, so wow. So he's going to save your soul. I'm sorry, but
he's going to save your soul. And look, she's going to sick the devil on you. That's a curse, guys.
Yeah.
That's a curse.
This lady's nuts.
I don't even know who this lady is.
Mary Wilson.
I don't know who she is, but I mean, obviously, there's something very demonic going on in that place. You need to run. Don't walk and run.
Now, when I read up on this situation, apparently she was referring to, from what I could tell, it was her husband. And he was one of the men standing there, right there with her, behind her, is what they said in the comments. Somebody knew all about it. And so the WPF stands for Worldwide Pentecostal Fellowship. And again, this was supposedly in the Rock Church in Elk Grove, California. Now, they're saying that it was just here recently. It looks a little bit dated, but I could be wrong, because even though it looks a little dated, a lot of churches look dated anyways. So, but this woman, an apostolic Pentecostal teacher, talking like this.
Yeah, disgusting.
Unbelievable. Disgusting. Okay, now, all right, this next one, I don't even know this. So I want people to understand that the man talking in this video is a pastor. Okay, this is an important detail that you need to know. So he is a Unitarian pastor. Let's listen.
I just have a question for the pastor. And we've also heard a lot tonight about religion and its place or placement in this discussion. And I really was touched by what you were saying with regard to your congregation. And I was wondering if you could just respond, since you've been here with this evening with all the testimony, to how that, as you believe, fits with what we're trying to do in this legislation.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. So I'll say that obviously we as Unitarian Universalists, one thing we believe is we fully support nonpartisan, we fully support separation of church and state. That is fundamental, and we don't think that religion should have an influence or should influence policy. On the other hand, if we're going to start talking about things like the Bible and what the Bible says about gender, in Genesis, when it says that God creates what's often taken as Adam, it is the Adam, which is actually an androgynous person, right? And so it just is strange to me that the Bible gets turned on this when it is so ambiguous at best about some of these pieces.
I don't even know what to say.
Oh, come on, Mark.
I don't even know what to say. Does anything really need to be said?
We show the video because we got to prove that this happened. Otherwise, people wouldn't believe it.
This is the institutionalized churches, guys. This is who everybody's yoked with.
That's a pastor. That's a pastor. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this soccer game. This is a soccer game. All right, let's take a look.
This is the most demonic thing I have ever seen taken place at any sporting event in my entire life. What you're looking at is a demon being summoned in the crowd on top of a satanic pentagram, and there's even demonic chants on the banners below the crowd. What you're looking at is a home game of FC Kaiserslautern, also known as FCK, and they're doing a pre-game ritual, and what you're going to see here is that people are holding up signs, and it creates a satanic pentagram. And as time goes on, you can see the person shifting the camera. On the other side, I believe those words say invincible forever. But then slowly there's a demon that's going to arise. Now, if you look at the bottom, the banners here, they say words in Latin. And if we translate them, let's see what it says. Exaudi nos Lucifer et surge ex abyss sume nimas nostra. Oh my gosh, this says, hear us, O Lucifer, and rise from the abyss, take our souls. What the heck? Now they actually say something else as Lucifer is slowly spawning from the crowd. It says, Ad lucem nos Lucifer et surge ex abysso sume animus nostros. Jesus, forgive me for even saying this, but it says, to light us, O star, and arise from the abyss, take our souls. What the heck? I mean, I don't care if their mascot is like a devil or something, whatever the heck it is. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There's got to be some evil energy going on in this game.
Yeah.
Where was this at?
Oh, I don't remember. Producer Ron, you can bring that back up at the very beginning. Let's look at that very beginning of that video.
This is the most demonic thing I have ever seen taken place at any sporting event in my entire life. What you're looking at is a demon being summoned in the crowd on top of a satanic pentagram, and there's even demonic chants on the banners below the crowd. What you're looking at is a home game of FC Kaiserslautern, also known as FCK, and they're doing a pregame ritual. And what you're going to see here is...
He doesn't say.
Yeah, I don't know what FCK. I don't know
either.
anything about sports.
You know,
but
I go back to, again, where's the church? You have an entire stadium there devoted to Satan himself.
Yeah.
Where's the church? Institutionalized church. You know, again, I don't think it's the United States. That's obviously it's someplace other country. But again, where are the Christians? You know what I mean? This is the battle right here.
I had written down mainstream. It's gone mainstream, like to a whole nother level. Producer Ron says it's Germany.
Germany. Yeah, it doesn't surprise
thank you,
me.
Producer Ron. We got the best producer, don't we?
Yep.
He's just amazing. Okay, so before we let you go, you got any final thoughts?
No, just look, I know we covered a lot of heavy things today, guys. And so, you know, again, pray for the president because there is something coming for him that's not going to be good. It just really is not for him or his family. I think that this is going to be devastating for them. It's going to drive him to his knees at some point, and nobody's there to tell him or advise him as to what's coming and what this is doing. Again, I go back to, you know, if he was just to walk into a cancer ward right now of everybody who just took the vaccine and saw the suffering that takes place. I mean, I have seen the worst death you could have is someone burning alive. I've been there, done it, seen it, witnessed it, experienced it. But I've also been there when people have died of cancer. Cancer has got to be probably the second worst death of pain and suffering that you will ever witness. And if he would just go to some of these places and see what these people are doing or what they're going through right now, what these vaccines have done, I think you would see a turnaround. So pray for him, pray for his family, guys.
I just have a hard time. I have a hard time believing that he's really that disconnected.
Naive.
And disconnected.
Yeah, and disconnected. There's a disconnect there. There's a
hard to
disconnect with a
believe.
lot of things.
But how do you not even know the reports and the things that the CDC? I know that the CDC is really a third party, you know, independently owned kind of thing. They own vaccines and different things, like they sell vaccines and all that stuff is one of the ways that they make money. All the years before, I always thought they were a government entity, and they're really not. But still, you can go onto the website, you can see these things. The other thing too is I think it's interesting to see how things are coming along with Kennedy. Did you see about Robert Kennedy Jr. on Saturday night where President Trump went to greet him? The wife was Cheryl Hines was standing there, and he he snubs her.
Right.
I just want to remind everybody also, she was the woman who, during the whole slowing the spread, she had a birthday party, but required everybody to take the shot in order to be able to attend her party.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
Oh, yes. Yes. And it was quite the thing. So I have not forgotten this.
Yeah.
And it's a very important thing. It tells us who they are. And so something's just off. Something's very off. Taco Ride said, how could RFK be up to speed and not Trump? Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And that's right. We're not buying it. I'm just not buying it. So even a year ago. So
something's wrong. Something's wrong somewhere. So we just need to be praying for him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Praying for him.
And so I appreciate you being here, Mark.
Thank you for having me. It's always an honor to be here.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you soon. Okay. So a lot going on there. I always appreciate when Mark's on. Such a good, always a great take on what's going on. I like to cover all kinds of recent topics, hot topics, like things that came out today. And then also some things that, like we were showing the videos, that are faith-based. What are pastors saying? What's going on in these churches? I think it's very eye-opening and sobering, to say the least. Again, also, our thoughts and prayers are with Mark and his family. His mother in love is dying of cancer. She got the shot, as he said early on in the show. So I know that it was hard for him to be here with us today, but he said, let's go on ahead and yes, I'll do the show. And so he said he thought it might be good for him. But anyways, he's got a lot going on with that. His wife is, dealing with that as well. So, okay. So I had told you at the beginning of the show that I had a couple of updates for you at the end of the show after Mark gave us his final thoughts. And so one of the things was, at the last time we did the show, I had announced that we weren't going to have a show last Monday because I had a court date. So I shared that I had woken up a couple of weeks prior to some death threats and nasty text messages from somebody I don't even know. And so, but I share this. I wanted to talk about it for a second because it's not really even about all of that. I want to share something else with you about what happened that day. And so, producer Ron, will you please bring up the post, the image that I had asked for that goes with that X post. Thank you, honey. So I came across this and I just felt led. I usually don't talk about a lot of things like this, or tweet about them, but I had felt led, and so I did tweet this. And so this was actually something I came across. And so I tweeted this image with something that I'll read to you. But this image says, one thing people need to understand about extremely kind, nice, and loving people is that their other side is just as extreme. It's the hell that they survive that makes them gentle. Don't mistake their self-control for weakness. The beast in them is sleeping, not dead. I think sometimes too, it's kind of like, I don't know, baby, kind of, to me it is like, you can see sometimes people who've never had a hard time. And there's such a disconnect when it comes to like what's going on in California, what's going on in East Tennessee and North Carolina. I have noticed that so many people that barely have money are a lot of who sends a $20 or $25 check in the mail, who's an elderly lady on Social Security explaining, I wish I had more, I would send it. Or explaining, I'm on Social Security and I saved up for this $35 to send you so that you could put it toward North Carolina. And that person knows what it's like to lack. And so it's just amazing to me. I don't know. I'm just amazed at how many wealthy people just aren't really, I don't know, helping or even, I don't know, stepping forward. And so I'm just amazed that those numbers that I was sharing at the beginning of today's show, $143,185.18. Only one I would call really rather large check, which was, I think, if memory serves me right, it was like $9,000. And so the rest have been, a lot of them have been less than, most of them have been less than $1,000. Now we've had a few thousand, we've had a few 2,000, we've had a few 3,000, and those are all great. But I'm telling you, we have gotten a lot of $30 checks and $20 and $25. And so I just want to say, like, those are the ones that just really get me, because they come with these stories or these situations and people are like, I hope I can send you another 25 next month to help with North Carolina. But that just is, I think that's part of it that just kind of is another lesson for me. But anyways, just makes me ponder, the people that have plenty, a lot of times just seems like there's a disconnect. They don't really know, I don't know. So anyways, well, I took that image and, as I said, I tweeted it out. I still call it tweets, X'd it out, whatever you want to call it, on X. And so I said I showed grace yesterday. So this was the morning after my court date. So it was Tuesday morning of last week. And I felt led. And so that's all I can say. I said I showed grace yesterday to a woman who doesn't know me, but somehow hates me. I said she sent me nasty texts, has repeatedly lied about me, and accused me of all sorts of ridiculousness. She's repeatedly been outright nasty to my son as well. I'd never seen her, nor did I know her. I didn't even know her name. It's so bad that I had no choice but to get a protective order and face her in court. I have to tell you, I leaned over to producer Ron, and my husband was sitting there with me as well. And I leaned over to producer Ron while we were sitting there waiting. I was like, can you even believe that this is what we're having to deal with today? I said, yesterday was the day. As she sat in the courtroom, I couldn't help but pity her. Her problems clearly have nothing to do with me. Y'all know what I mean, right? Like, so many times people come at you, but it's not even about you, Regardless, I showed her grace while she sat in her obvious bitterness, anger, and hate. It was sad. My heart hurt for her. How does a woman get to that point? I'm going to be praying for her. She needs it. I slept well last night, and today is a great day to have a great day. And that's the thing. I think, sometimes I have learned that my heart for the Lord is so that I handle things sometimes not the way I would want to handle. Like, we want to have that knee-jerk reaction. We want to tell somebody off or whatever. But I've learned, especially over the last, 12 years or so, when I really have gotten close with the Lord, is that when I act out or when I really, I'm in the flesh, right? When I'm in my flesh, that does no good. And when I can really sit back and I can see the hurting and the pain, and like I said, my heart hurt for her. I mean, she's certainly got problems, and it made me sad for her. And I have prayed for her already. I said I'd be praying for her, and I have been. And so I don't say those words lightly. When I say them, I mean them. And so, but it was like, it was just so weird. I didn't even know her name when I received her text messages. I didn't even know her name. In fact, she had to tell me who she was. And so I just sit there and go, wow, this person doesn't even know me. And they have said so many things about me, and none of it is true. And it's so sad. And it's like, but I showed her grace. All the judge wanted to know was what I wanted to do, because it was just kind of really cut and dry. It was so, it was so obvious. I mean, she put the stuff in writing. So it was, how I wanted to proceed. And I could have proceeded and made things very difficult for her, where she would have a record, and anytime any prospective employer would pull any kind of a background on her, it would show up, and she would have a hard time getting a job. And so I didn't want to do that to her. She's a mother and she's a wife, and I don't know exactly what's going on in her situation, and it doesn't really matter, as far as me, I don't have to know. But if I let it all go, then in 6 months, it'll be dropped and expunged from her record. And so I chose, my husband leaned over and said to my son during the hearing, as he was hearing what I was telling the judge and what I had decided to do, what I was deciding to do as I was sitting there, my husband realized and leaned over to my son, one of my sons, and said, "Your mother's going very easy on her. And she is showing her grace, and this woman's got a real chance to straighten up and to get out of all of this." And had to explain to my son what it means for something to be expunged and all that. But I just wanted to explain, just as a learning lesson, as an opportunity, that we can really be the hands and feet of Jesus, and we can really show people grace even when they are nasty and terrible to us. We don't always know exactly what's going on. Just because they're not bleeding or hurting on the ground, whatever, and bruised and battered, doesn't mean that we just don't know what people are going through. And clearly there's something off. And so I just hope and pray that, first of all, she leaves me alone for the next 6 months, but and beyond, and that she's learned a lesson. But I hope that she's able, to get some help and healing, whatever that looks like, and she's got a real chance. And so I just wanted to share that because, I don't know what other people would do in that situation, but it was very easy for me, and I was at peace. And like I said, I slept well that night. I slept well that night because I knew that I had done the right thing. And, we'll see. I did what I had to do, and but I think that it was a great learning lesson, and that's why I wanted to share it with everybody. Is that I also like to gauge if I sleep well, instead of tossing and turning, going, "Oh, I can't believe I did that," or "I said that," and "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I'm repentant to God because I lashed out or was in my flesh. And so I've just learned through the years, and I'm sure many people watching can relate. It's like you have that regret later, and I hate that regret. It's one of the things I actually hate. I hate it because I get so upset with myself because I knew better. I knew better because I've already done that so many times, where you lash out or you handle something in a way, and it's not, it's just not the way that God, the grace. And so I was graceful, and I went easy, and boy, she was sitting in her hate like there was no tomorrow. So I'm gonna just say for the record, it was not easy. It really was easy. It should have not been easy, but it really was just fine with me. It was sad. That's why I said I walked away, and I just felt so sad for her. It grieved my heart. It made me wonder what God thought, because it's got to grieve His heart. And so, anyway, so we'll just be praying for her and hope that, she gets things turned around. But all is well. And so, anyways, so that's a follow up from the court date. I had mentioned it, so I know people had written to me asking about it, and so I thought, okay, I'll discuss it on the show, especially with that it took away. I thought that would be a good way to really talk about it. So Friday, we didn't do Friday's show, and I want to explain what's going on. So we didn't do Friday's show because of Flash Moore. And so Flash Moore, I had said something a couple of weeks ago, there's the baby. And so he had a yeast infection in both ears. One was really bad, and come to find out, and then the other one was not so bad. But he also had something going on with his foot. We thought that somebody or something stung him, like something. So some kind of a flying little wasp or something was running around, and I think near where I saw him run away from one day. And so that's what spurred us on having him to the vet the next day. We ended up finding out about his ears. We knew something was wrong, so he was coming anyways, but soon anyways. But that was just another thing. So he goes in the next morning early, and they help us with all that. So then I take him for a follow-up, which was Friday morning. And so I go in, and we try to get him in earlier in the week because, we weren't going to North Carolina because we're having a truck issue. But Friday was the soonest that they could get him in. And I knew that Friday, even if we had the truck, I still wouldn't be going to North Carolina because it was Friday and I was planning to do the show. And so just was the food truck would go without me, and that would be fine. So anyways, what mattered was that the food and supplies and love offerings got to North Carolina. So I go to the vet completely unprepared for what is to come. So Flash has had this weird toenail that we have known about, and so the vet gets to really looking at that, and she's looking at the puppy paw pad, and come to find out, little Flash, what is the equivalent of 2 fingers for us, he had been broken at some point in his life. Now we're not sure when. My husband and I were talking about it yesterday. We've been trying to figure it out, and we just don't know. We don't know if it was before we got him. He was 3 months old when we got him. And so because of extenuating circumstances with that situation, it could have very well happened before we ever got Flash. Okay. And so anyway, but at some point, what is the equivalent to 2 fingers got broken, and it didn't heal properly. And because of the way he walks on it, it's causing what's equivalent to, like for us, a bunion. And the vet is going to amputate part of that, part of his equivalent to a finger. And so one of them is pretty high up. And so I was not prepared for all of that. And ended up getting an x-ray, and then she shows me, both paws next to each other in the x-ray and shows me what's wrong. And it's very, very clear that little Flash has a problem. And it's not like urgent, had to have it on Friday, but it needs to be done, and it needs to be done soon. So I spent this morning trying to see about getting a vet that's more like a holistic vet. But the one that I thought we would get, it turns out she does things like acupuncture. That's not going to fix this. And so it's looking like he's going to end up having to have the surgery, and so the little procedure. So we don't know what that looks like, but so far, so I'm going to have to call and see about moving forward with that and getting him the help that he needs. And so we'll see. That may end up being this week sometime. And so wanted to give you an update. So I was pretty obviously upset. I thought we were just going in for a yeast infection kind of thing, and said, hey, look, at his puppy paw pad, it's still not right. And so, it's better, but it's not what I think it should be. And so, it turned out that it really had to do with his claw and all of that area. And so it's just a lot. He keeps licking it. And she happened to ask, has he been licking it? And I was like, well, I don't think so. Well, it turned out I've caught him licking that paw 3 times today. So clearly it's aggravating him. And so that's just been today so far. So long story short, that's why we didn't do a show on Friday. I was busy taking care of him. He was very traumatized by being at the vet in the first place. And so I put some of the Godly Granny, the magnesium stress relief cream on him, and just rubbed it into his little puppy paw pads. And that little baby curled up with me in the bed, and he slept 3 hours. And so he was out. If I'll lay in bed with him like that and, put a little bit of that magnesium cream, and he was just so traumatized from going. And so I wish I would have thought to put that on him before we left, because then maybe that would have helped his, trauma and stress while we were there. So anyway, we are going to be getting a second opinion, though. It just isn't going to be from the lady that I was hoping from, but hoping to get it from. That's okay. We will definitely be getting a second opinion. And so, but it's pretty obvious. It's probably going to be what they're wanting to do. So we'll see. But I will keep you updated. Just wanted to let you know that's what happened. And I just decided to take a breath and, sit down with him and take care of him. He needed it. And so there you go. Eyes of a Lady said, poor Flash, did he end up with a cone not to scratch his ear with his paw? No, he didn't need it. And so he is fine. And his ears are great. One is completely healed, and the other one is just on like a little drying agent for a couple of days. And then, I took him to the groomer, and this all happened right after the groomer. And I brought that up, and the vet said, yeah, we see this a lot. They said, we don't know. I said, well, did his ears not get dried enough? And then yeast came in or whatever. And she said sometimes it could even be something they put in the ear to clean the ear or whatever. And maybe it was in another dog, and that dog had a yeast infection, and so it gets transferred. And so, but I'm telling you, the day after, he started up with his ears. And so I really relate it to that. I think something happened with the groomer. So anyways, but just FYI, I'm going to be aware when you take your dog to the groomer. But anyways, I think that's what happened. So unfortunately. But yes, I will be getting a second opinion. Thank you. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Mark Taylor, always wonderful to have him with us. And so we will see you here tomorrow, the next time on the Michelle Moore Show. And we will be announcing Mama Ganza and Dada Ganza. I'm excited. It's going to be fun. Those will be great shows. All right. We'll see you right here next time on the Michelle Moore Show.